All right, welcome to another episode of Closers or Losers. Today, I wanted to bring in not really a guest, because Kyle actually works with us at seventh level now. Kyle used to be a client a few years ago. And then, see our sales team, pretty much everybody, the rule is they have to be a client first. They have to be trained in NEPQ, certified. They have to go out and crush it in their industry. And then sometimes they want to come work for us, work for seventh level. And that's what Kyle did. Came over. When did you come over as a salesperson? Year and a half ago or so? When was it?
Yeah, about almost a year from today, actually.
Yeah, that's crazy. Things go by quick. So a year ago, comes over, crushes it in sales, and got promoted here. What was it? 3, 4, 5 months ago?
Yeah, beginning of the year for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's about 6 months ago. Moved up and is our sales manager over our salespeople, our entire outbound and inbound sales team. And what we wanted to do, like every week, we're going to talk about different subjects. And this week, I wanted to talk about sales leadership, like how to become a leader in sales. So if you're a salesperson listening right now and you're not in a leadership position, make sure you watch this, make sure you listen to this, because we're going to give you some tips on how to do that. And if you're a current sales leader, like a sales manager or a VP of sales or a CSO of your company, we're going to give you some different experiences as that as well. I was a VP of sales in many different couple corporations in my sales career, as well as a chief sales officer as well. So I have a little bit of experience in managing and leading teams, big teams of thousands of salespeople as well. Matt, our main co-host, is probably asleep right now while we're shooting this. So I wanted to get a different feel today. Matt's probably going to be feeling left out, but we'll bring him back for the next podcast. All right. Everybody loves Matt, our CEO of the company. All right. So Kyle, maybe give everybody a little bit of your background and how you got into sales. And then we're going to go over some different things about how to become a sales leader and really lead your team to get a much higher result than they're getting now.
Yeah, fair enough. Prior to sales, I was doing like a bunch of boring stuff, construction, kind of like lower income tasks or, jobs that really weren't cutting it for me and my family. So
yeah,
tried to find a better way, got into sales, wasn't the best at it.
Yeah.
People were looking at like, why should we give this guy on the team? One of my friends actually got into the NEPQ training.
Okay.
After he got trained by you, he came back and he was just smacking back deals in Slack. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, how can I do that? Right.
Yeah.
So I asked him, and then he sent over your live sales call with one of the police officers. I was fascinated. I was amazed. How do I sell like that? That's what I need. Right. So that's what introduced me to NEPQ. I shot right into the Inner Circle program.
Yeah. You were in our advanced Inner Circle program. I remember you actually. That was like, a year and a half ago. I don't even know, something.
Quite a while. Yep.
2 years ago.
So I got trained by the best. Jeremy, Marco, Matt, absolute legends.
Yeah.
And then and got invited to sell on the team.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So you got invited to sell on the team, and we do that with people who go in and crush it. Now, disclaimer, if we're already training your company, like if we are training all the salespeople in your company and you want to work for us, we can't do that. It's a conflict of interest. We're not going to have business owners feeling like, oh my gosh, if they train our people, they're going to take our people. We will not do that. In fact, it's in our agreements that we can't do that, just to protect our clients. So you got in, you started selling like a madman for us. You did exceptionally well. Your clients loved you. Your prospects loved you, like helping them solve their problems. And then we wanted to make a change at leadership. And, Matt and Marco came and was like, hey, we'd like Kyle to be our sales manager. I'm like, let's do it. He's here locally. He's here in our Scottsdale office. Let's bring him in. And you've done an exceptional job. Now, here's what I'm going to ask you. As far as, transitioning from a salesperson who's crushing it to then going to a sales leadership position like a sales manager, what was that transition like for you? And be real with everybody. Like, was it good? Was it bad? Was it ugly? Like, what was that transition like for you?
Well, let me say this, like, even prior, Matt did a good job of seeding it in my mind. So
yeah,
right. But making the transition, full transparency, was a little bit daunting, a little bit like, hey man, is this going to work out? Because I invested a lot into my skills.
Yeah.
Now, was I going to be a good leader though?
Yeah.
That's the real question, because, you know, now I'm in charge of a team, how they're going to perceive me. What if, right? It's a little bit daunting.
So it was a little bit daunting. How long was it daunting for? Was it like a couple of weeks? You started to get the hang of it, a month or two? And just be real with everybody. Like we're always
probably like your first few weeks, you're like, hey, I mean, someone like me, like I really want to be great at what I do.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, maybe I'm a little bit too critical on myself at times, but once, you know, like once you have a good Matt, our CSO, Anthony, Marco, great leadership team, of course, you too as well. Yeah. I have some really good support. They put some good processes in place. It allowed for me to have a good, smooth transition.
Okay. So you started learning now, you know, because we, you know, for a sales training company, we have a fairly big sales team. You know, we've got an outbound team, we've got an inbound team. And, you know, since COVID, a lot of companies, you know, sometimes they'll have salespeople in office, which we have some of our salespeople here in this office. We also have some of our salespeople in our Sydney, Australia office, our international headquarters there in Sydney. But most of our salespeople are virtual. You know, they work from home. We've got salespeople in the UK and Europe. We've got salespeople in different parts of Australia. We got, I think, a few salespeople in Japan, of all places. We've got salespeople in South America, Colombia and stuff. We got salespeople all over the US and Canada. So what is it like managing? Because you've got some salespeople here in this office, like I said, some people in our Australian office, and then everybody else is all over the place. How do you manage salespeople virtually? Walk us through what you've done.
Man, I think 3 is like a good if you can just place everything in 3s in your mind, you can like really create a game plan, mirror it out in your mind. So like, how can I do it? Like how, right? You got to be resourceful. How is such a good question. So managing the performance, that's key, right?
Let's talk about that. How do you manage their performance when they're not in the office, when they're selling personally?
Yeah. It starts with giving them clarity on what they're moving towards, right? What's the gold medal? Why is it important for them to have that gold medal? What's the meaningful outcome that they're chasing after? Right? Individually, you have to have a vested interest in them.
Because salespeople, you know, in general, you know, because when I was a vice president of sales for a fairly large firm, this was back in the day. I was over, you know, you're talking about 5,000-6,000 salespeople, maybe a little bit more. It's been a long time. But salespeople, actually, the biggest thing that motivates salespeople is not money. Do you know that? It's actually status and awards and recognition. So, you know, maybe go over like what we do for like awards and recognition status to like motivate our team, that everybody watching or listening to us can like apply to their teams. Or if they're in sales right now and want to become a sales manager or leader, they can do that when they get into that. Maybe go over some of those things we've done.
Very, very good discussion. So first and foremost, you have to set targets in place for them and give them clarity on that, right?
What do you mean by give them clarity? Tell us what you mean by give them clarity.
Well, we have KPIs, right? That we have to hit. And they have to have
quotas, KPIs. Okay.
Exactly right. And in order for them to drive there, like we have to have something meaningful that they're going to chase, something that benefits them, and some measurable results, right? That way you can reward them. And like people in sales, we do care about status, right? And how people perceive us. So in public, like you have to be able to acknowledge them when they get their wins, right? You have to praise them in public. And then even on the other side of that, let's say someone isn't performing or someone makes some mistakes, we all do, and be able to take that conversation and correct them, coach them in private too.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned when I became a vice president of sales. So I was a vice president of sales of a home security company. It was where I started in sales my first year. And within 2 years, I went from like low man on the totem pole. There was like 400 salespeople in that company. There's like 400 salespeople in that company, I think, when I started with them. And I was like dead last, probably the first 2 or 3 months. And within 2 or 3 months later, I was the number 1 salesperson in the entire company. They promoted me to be like a sales manager and sales, managing all these teams and selling. And then about a year and a half later, I became the vice president of sales. And by that time, they'd already grown to like 4,000 salespeople. But the biggest thing I learned, because they put me into like a lot of leadership development events and seminars. One of them was by John Maxwell. And he talked about something you just said there. You always want to praise your salespeople in public. Praise them in public. Now, you can praise them in private. That's totally cool. But praise them in public, because it gets them a big head. And that's what you want. You want them to have a big head. You want them to have a big head. But when you correct them, don't do that in public. It's embarrassing. It causes them to feel like you don't care about them. And I see a lot of companies do that. I really do. I've seen that as we've trained salespeople and stuff, and sales leadership and management. We've gone in there as a team and saw that they're criticizing salespeople in front of everybody, and it's like the worst thing you do. So you always correct in private. So write this down, everybody. Praise in public, correct in private. Yeah. Your salespeople will respect you far more. Because if your salespeople do not respect you, if you're a sales manager, VP of sales, CSO, whatever, if they don't respect you, they're not going to stay very long. They'll go find something else because they don't feel respected. You want your salespeople to feel respected, because that causes them to want to go out and perform.
100%. It's a dangerous mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky I have guys like, Rode, Matt, you, Marco, Anthony in my corner.
Yeah.
That, because I wouldn't, if I made a dangerous mistake like that falling into leadership,
yeah,
it would be a disaster here.
Yeah, your salespeople, for them to respect you, typically what I find the best sales leaders are the ones who performed exceptionally well. Now, they don't necessarily have to be the number one salesperson in the world, but they're good. They were good at sales. So the salespeople respect. Like if you have a sales manager in a team that wasn't very good at selling, it's really hard for the salespeople to get behind them and respect them as a leader. That's one reason why we brought Kyle in there, because of his leadership ability, but because of his sales abilities. Well, they respect him because he performed. He was at the very top. All right. And they look at you as like, hey, that person can perform. So you want to find a sales leader, a salesperson who performed well. They don't necessarily have to be the number one person, because sometimes your number one salesperson might not be the best leader. They might not be the best motivator. But you want to have somebody that was pretty good at sales, or even great, but can also lead people, because that shows respect. Okay, that's really important. All right, keep going.
For sure, because it's like we're so big on congruency here. That's part of our culture. Like you can't ask people to do things that you haven't done yourself. So I think one thing that makes me effective is like I've actually invested a lot into my skills. Yeah, and then being in our inner circle. Yeah. And then also sold on some offers where they weren't problem or solution aware. So you're making something out of nothing, right?
Yeah, true. You were definitely selling in some companies that didn't really have the greatest products or services, but you were still crushing it for them, and their marketing was pretty dang bad. So that's why we wanted to bring you as a leader, because you made stuff happen without the company just handing you leads. Like you were making stuff happen yourself, and you performed without, relying on everybody else. That's what a true leader is. They can perform without relying on everybody else just to give them stuff. Okay. That's one sign of a leader. Let's keep going. What are some other things that you do to really lead the team here that we can help other people out here do?
Yep. One thing we just mentioned too is the culture.
So let's talk about culture.
Right. It comes down to like, ask yourself, if you are in a management position right now, how effective are your huddles, your meetings with people, with your team?
Talk about our huddles. What do we do in our huddles? How often do we have them, and why do we have them? What do we go over in the huddles?
Yep, we're doing them daily. Yeah, bare minimum 3 times a week. Right. Okay. Now, the reason why is because we want to set the projections for the day. Yeah, and then also the intentions. What's my intention for the day? Yeah, and then have them pre-handle some of the things that might come up that might stumble them. How would your best self handle those situations? Yeah. Right.
And what we always have a term around here, as a sales training company, individual salespeople or companies come to us because they want to acquire more advanced sales ability to sell more, right? People don't come to us to get worse at sales. They come to us because they want to drastically improve their sales results, either as a company or as an individual. So when we have these huddles, we talk about how many people are we helping? Like how many people are we helping teach this to? We solve major problems for individual salespeople and companies. Individual salespeople, we're helping solve problems where they're making 2, 3, 4 times what they were before the training. Companies, we're able to help them scale. We've even got Fortune 500 companies that we trained that quite literally have gone up a few 100% in sales that were already making billions of dollars a year. One of them is a major search engine. If you guys have ever heard of that company, it's a big one out there, a big search engine. ExxonMobil now, we got them on board, did a big virtual keynote for their VPs of all their VPs across the United States. There's like 47. It's crazy. But we solve major problems. So on these huddles, we talk about the problems we're solving. Like, we are big about our intentions, right? People have problems that come to us. We solve those problems and get them the results they want. So how many people are we NEPQing? It's like a term in the company, NEPQing. Explain why we do that.
Well, it's not about closing, because it's like, if you're closing somebody, that's something you're doing to somebody.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the biggest thing for us is, credit to you and Matt and Marco. Like, we're every single day, we are changing the way sales is perceived.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Because there's a lot of old, outdated sales tactics and strategies out there.
That's why people struggle. Yeah.
Right. Right. And that kind of ruins it for the rest of us who are actually skillful at what we do.
Yeah. We're always talking about how many lives are we impacting today? Like, that is the big thing on our day huddles. How long do our huddles typically last? I'm not on those anymore. The company's too big, so I'm not on there anymore. But how long are the huddles?
Typically, you want to have respect for your teammates' time, right? So, and you want them to be very, very effective. You don't want them to leave energized. I mean, you want them to leave energized. You don't want them to leave drained or discouraged, right? Yeah. So valuing their time, their slot utilization. So you want to keep it as short as possible and just crisp.
Yeah.
Fire it off.
So long are 20, 30 minutes.
Gets that done.
Yeah. 20, 30 minutes.
Each of the teams though. So I'll run a huddle with the outbound team, and then we'll jump on with our NEPQ sales professionals.
Our inbound team. Yeah. So we have different huddles. So if you're in a company, you got outbound salespeople, you got inbound salespeople, maybe a BDRs, SDRs. Typically, you want to do those separate because there's different things. There's different challenges. There's different KPIs they have to meet. So we do those separately, 20, 30 minutes max per day. I wouldn't suggest going an hour a day on daily huddles. It just takes too much of their selling time away from them. And then how many sales training calls do we do for our own team each week? I think we do 1 a week.
Oh, that's good. We do 2. One with absolute.
I don't even know anymore. Okay.
That's fine. Well, so one with Marco.
Marco is our chief revenue officer of the company. He's also my business partner as well. So Marco does one of the training calls with our inbound team.
Yeah, exactly right. So Marco jumps on with them, helps them learn more advanced skills. Yeah, keeps them in alignment. I mean, who else better to learn from, right?
He's great. I mean, he was a client 3 years ago, and we got him up to like $1 million a year in commissions with what he was selling. Before, he was making like 10 grand a month, and we got him up to like 85 grand a month. Then we brought him over here as the CRO, and he's over all of our marketing and salespeople. He's always a legend for sure. So we do one with the inbound team with Marco, and do we do one with the outbound team too as well?
Yep. Outbound, they get it daily. Okay. Because we have them with our skills coach, Dan Van.
Okay.
Very effective meetings. We teach them like the nuances of doing some of those outbound dials, and kind of have these sessions where we give them individual attention to as well. So,
okay. Let's keep going with our culture. So, every month, every quarter, and annually, we have awards. And why do we have awards? Why give awards to your salespeople, like top salesperson of the month, top salesperson of the quarter, and top salesperson of the year?
Keeps the people going, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, we all want to be recognized, you know, on our journey. Sometimes on the way up to the peak of your mountain, it's good to take a look around and say, hey, I'm really enjoying this view, and I'm proud of myself for doing all the behind the scenes work, because our guys really get after it, man. Yeah. And you have to acknowledge them. Yeah. You have to acknowledge them for, the things that they're doing that no one like recognizes. So
100%. I think we titled those awards. The monthly award is like, what is it? the beast of the month or something like that. I think the quarter award is the savage of the quarter, because there's rankings like beast, then savage, and then the annual one is the legend. It's the legend award because you become a legend. And then, you know, in our company, we take the top 5 salespeople at the end of the year, and we have something called an ESOP where they're able to partake in a percentage of the equity of the company at the end of the year. I think we held back like 7 to 9% of equity in the company, and our top 5 salespeople and leadership, like you and other people, are able to participate that as long as we hit our, you know, KPIs for the year. So our top 5 salespeople, not only do they make a lot of money, you know, we've got salespeople on our team that make 50, 60,000 plus a month in commissions. Because they're high.
One of them is like 19 years old. Let's put that.
Well, yeah, one of them is 19 years old. But they make a lot of money at the end of the year because our top 5 people, we let them participate in some of that profit share at the end. So, you know, we'll have some salespeople this year that end up making 7 figures actually with their commissions plus the stuff there. So it's a huge incentive. Like, we're talking huge incentive. Now, I learned that from a company that I worked for, which is now called Vivint, which did something similar to that. And I always thought that was a huge incentive. We even do car bonuses. So when they hit certain KPIs on a quarterly basis, they get car bonuses. So they're able to go out and get a new car. We make their car payment for them. So there's different incentives that we do besides just like a plaque that really drives salespeople. And as a company, your company, the most important thing in any company is sales, because without sales, you have no company, you have no revenue, you have no profit margin. Now, obviously, marketing is extremely important, like right up there. But even with great marketing, if you can't have a lot of sales from that, because your salespeople don't really know how to communicate the right way, if they don't know how to sell the right way, you just can't scale. Yeah. So it's all about sales.
And Jeremy, like to add on to that, like that's why like a huge part of what you're going to be doing as a sales manager, if you truly want to be effective, is quality control. You have to look at all the lead indicators, you know, and that's going to require you to dedicate a lot of your time to listening to the calls, giving them direct feedback. And then
tell us what we do with that. So you're saying, so when our salespeople have our calls, they're recorded, right? They're on Zoom or they're on the phone, outbound teams on the phone, inbound teams on Zoom primarily. We record those. So you're saying as a sales manager, you're going in, and if somebody's maybe behind on their KPIs, you're hearing what they're doing on the call. Like you're finding out what's going on.
Yep. And there's 3 levels, right? So 1, can I just make a quick Loom video and send it to them?
Yeah.
2 is like, do I need to set aside like 10, 15 minutes to show them something? And then 3, if they really need some immediate like help, then they're going to have to book on for 30 minutes, walk them through it. That way you coach them, right? In private though. And then that's to increase their performance. That's to let them know that, hey, my best interest is to help you. They need to know without a doubt too, that you know they can get to where they want to go.
Yeah. You have to have you have confidence in them. You might be disappointed in their performance. You're disappointed because you know they're better than that. That's one thing I learned from a bunch of leadership training, you know, when I was a VP of sales for a while in my career, is that, you know, you're disappointed in them because you know they're better than what they're performing, right? They're better, and the prospects are dependent on them to solve their problems, again, results. And if they can't sell to the prospect, if they can't communicate to the prospect, it's like it's their responsibility that the prospect is not moving forward to getting their problem solved and getting what they want. Yeah.
Sometimes I tell them to, like, hey, they're not just buying a better process. They're not just buying better skills. They're buying your transformation, how you overcame some of these difficulties yourself. That way you can be the best example for them, because we are huge on congruency here.
Yeah.
So looking at those calls, maintaining the quality of those calls. So that way your prospects, they actually get the best experience with what you have to offer. That's key, right? Because you want a tribe of loyal raving fans, kind of like what we do. If you guys see us in the group, we have over 70,000 people, and these guys, you know, it's a great group to participate in. Secondly,
Facebook group has almost 80,000. It's like 79.7 thousand or something like that. We just started that a while ago, so that's growing rapidly. Salesrevolution.pro. Look, if you're on here listening or watching right now, go right now to salesrevolution.pro. There should be a link there. You can join that for free. Me personally, I go live in that group 2 or 3 times a week with different trainings, like subject matter trainings. I don't even charge you guys to listen to that. Subject matter trainings, Q&As. We interview clients from different industries, break down their sales structures that we've written with them and stuff like that. So you want to sell more, we'll give you little hors d'oeuvres, little nibbles in that Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro. Go there right now. Make sure you do that if you want to start selling more. And then, hey, you want to start learning more advanced training besides just our Facebook group, because that's just basic stuff we give you there. It'll probably help you sell more. We always have testimonies from people who don't even have any of our training because they just hear me on a couple of lives or whatever. They're like, well, I'm selling way more. But I want you to imagine if you knew everything that our clients know who are in your same industry, how much more you would sell. That's the thing. So you get in the Facebook group, you can just message me directly, and either myself or one of my stunt doubles will message you back, and some different options we have if you want to sell more. Because we don't just have like one training program. We have like 27 different sales training programs, always building new programs like every quarter now. At this point, industry-specific training for tons of different industries as well back there. And we teach you how to tie an NEPQ to what you specifically sell. We quite literally train 158 different industries, including yours, listening and watching me right now. So when you get in there, you can book with one of our account managers, and they'll find out kind of, if you're an individual salesperson, what you're making now, like what are you making now compared to what you want to make? Okay, to kind of see what that gap looks like. All right. And we're going to find out what you're saying and what you're asking, and sometimes, a lot of times, not asking, and how you're using your tone that's preventing you from being able to make what you want. Okay. And once we find out kind of what's preventing you from getting there, like why are your prospects not buying, right? Because they have problems and or emotional needs. Your solution solves those. What's the missing link? Well, the missing link is what you're saying. It's what you're not asking. It's because you don't know how to use your tone to get them to let their guard down that's causing them to run the other way and not buy from you. So once we understand the issues you're having, we then know which training program to have you involved in, okay, as a client that's going to get you a quick ROI. Quite literally have people give us testimonials a day or two after they log into the portal and they're like, hey man, I just made 2 sales today that if I had not had this training, I would have never made those at all, like period. Those would have been like lost deals. So the ROI is extremely quick with our training program. So anyways, I keep cutting you off. Keep going.
No worries there, legend. So I guess the final thing that you're kind of looking at in terms of lead indicators is the marketing. So if you're listening to calls daily, you can, find out what's maybe a little bit off there, what needs to be adjusted, submit that off to the marketing team. You have a good process for that. So that way you're ahead of the curve. You can foresee things because, leaders anticipate and followers react, right?
100%. We're always looking like, we have all of these different lead channels, where leads coming in. We dominate as a sales training company. We dominate on Facebook and IG. Probably we dominate the most out of any sales training company on the planet on Facebook and IG. Like we own those platforms, especially Facebook. Like we get thousands of leads a month just from Facebook ads. Okay. But we also get leads from YouTube. We also get leads from LinkedIn. We also get leads from, all these other platforms, TikTok, SEO, Google AdWords, all those type of things. So leads are coming in everywhere. And sometimes, I'm always recording. I mean, literally the marketing team has like every Friday for 8 hours, all I do is record more ads, quite literally. I'm like, gosh, we're just an ad machine. And so if we have certain leads that start coming in for a week that, something's off, like they're like kids or, something's going on. They're all from like a country that there's no way they can get funding for training or something. We want to make those fixes very quickly. So we rely, Kyle relies on getting that feedback from our salespeople and not just like, oh, the leads are bad because maybe the salesperson's off his or her game, but because there's some serious issues with the leads. And then that's able to go to the marketing department to get fixed real quick. So it's not a long-term problem. So as a leader, you have to have your hand on the pulse of your salespeople. Because if you don't have your hand on your pulse of your salespeople, you're just hoping and praying it works out. And that's not a long-term winning strategy.
No, we don't recommend hopium to solve
Yeah.
your issues there.
You don't want to take the opium drugs. Now, we're going to conclude it today. Make sure you go buy the book. Okay, this is a Wall Street Journal bestseller right here. We even, I don't think this right here now, the new books have the banner on it. So go buy. Hey, you want to start to learn a little bit about what we do? Go buy this at Barnes & Noble. You can go to Barnes & Noble's website right now, The New Model of Selling to an Unsellable Generation, co-authored with me and my good friend Jerry Acup. So make sure, CEO of Delta Point. So make sure you go buy this book. barnesandnoble.com, type in The New Model of Selling. Jeremy, mine, it's 17 or 18 bucks. Make sure you go get the book now if you want to start selling more. This is going to give you a really good overview of NEPQ neuro-emotional persuasion questions. And make sure you go join the free Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro. Hit us up in there if you want more advanced training. If you want to start making 2, 3, 4 times plus what you're making now. And I'm not joking when I say that. Kyle, yep. Any last words of advice?
2, right? 1, huge shout out to you, Jeremy, Matt, Marco, our chief sales officer, Anthony, and Rode too. You know, you guys have been in my corner, really helped me grow, develop.
Rode's over our B2B sales department. Yeah. Okay, good.
Exactly right. So I'm super thankful, grateful to have you guys in my corner. And secondly, I'm super proud of our team, Jeremy. Like the way they're growing, the way they're developing.
Yeah.
And seeing them catch, some huge wins.
Yeah.
And how people change their lives and make a change for the better.
Yeah.
On a consistent basis, and the way they show up, it's
no, you've done a fabulous job. And the thing I love about you and our team is we are obviously big on training. Obviously, we're a sales training company. So as a sales leader watching or listening to us right now, always take this words of advice, comes from my good friend Bradley. Is training something you did, or is training something you do? Look, if you want to be an exceptional sales leader, either in the trenches as a sales professional or as a sales manager, a VP of sales, a chief sales officer, or the business owner, CEO of the company, is training something you did, like in the past, or is it something you do on a daily basis? Look, you want to be great at selling. You want to be a great sales manager, VP, or CSO. Train something you do every day. You do that every day, you just get really, really good. You don't do that every day, you don't stay where you're at, you go backwards, 100%. It's like Steph Curry not practicing every day. He stops practicing. Is he going to shoot 45% or whatever he shoots from the three-point line? No, his numbers are just going to go down if he's not practicing his technique every day, right? Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks, Kyle, for being on today. That was a great one on sales leadership. We'll see everybody in the next podcast. Thanks so much, Kyle. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening to us. We will see you soon. salesrevolution.pro. Thanks, everybody. Hey, guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here, Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below. Join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.